This podcast was created on the lands of the Ngunnawal people, the Wurundjeri people, and Ngāti Pawa. We acknowledge the contributions of Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander, and Maori people to making rugby league the greatest game of all.
You're listening to NRL Hellmouth, the podcast where we open up a portal to the rugby league realm to see what horrors and delights we can unearth. Your good mate Simon here. It's Magic Round, and the Purple Wizards of the Melbourne Storm have finally managed to conjure a smile onto the faces of these two. Daniel and James, isn't it just great to be alive?
Sure is, mate. Beanies and buck hats to you both. Just bouncing off the wall here in Melbourne. The spirit on the streets is alive. James, how are you?
I'm great. I didn't realise that the rugby league season is actually very good.
It changes it, doesn't it?
Yeah. What a great year and what a great week of league it was.
Delighted for you both.
How'd the Raiders go? Oh, sorry. Yeah, gotcha.
Look, it was a fairly respectable rugby league scoreline, so I'm just focusing on that.
Mate, that was match of the round.
I agree. I agree.
It was just unbelievable. Oh, it was unbelievable. It was a pretty good game. That's the sort of game that used to get about 6 games of a round last year.
Yeah.
Save your bitterness for the...
sorry, we got a whole section.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, okay.
Coming up later in the show, we're dropping a bombshell regarding the Bulldogs airport toilet incident. James has a magical team selection for us, and Daniel has a very awkward conversation about the Storm with his daughter. It's going to be great, so let's open it up and raise some hell.
There's the kickoff. Let the party begin.
Like, I undeservedly apologise to everyone for my actions.
I didn't intend to disrespect anybody, and I definitely didn't do it on the car.
Well, I've been watching the Seagulls, and not one of them is eating.
This is a horror movie. Rugby league. What else can this grand final provide?
To get stacked live on television.
Stop it, it's starting to hurt.
Right, so despite the optimism of my co-hosts in the intro there, last week was a particularly galling example of the enshittification of rugby league. When one of the most sensible games of the round involves a penalty goal being kicked after the golden point had already been scored, you know the game is in a very deep hole. Now, no fewer than 6 of the 8 games last round provided a give-up-at-20 trigger, whereby sensible fans of the losing team stopped watching the game altogether and directed their energies elsewhere.
We should just recap. So give up a 20 is basically a format wherein fans see that their team is trailing by 20 points, statistically realising then that their team has a snowflake's chance of coming back, and they then move on to bigger and better things, making the most of their day and not dragging themselves through the ensuing misery of that game.
And that it is not necessarily the fault of the team for getting 20 points down. It is a systematic failure at the top of the game, and that is in fact what we are protesting, not the effort of the players.
Correct.
There's a nuance to it that
That's right.
People need to understand.
A positive spin, I dare say.
Yeah, so those systematic failures have far-reaching consequences, both positive and negative. Obviously, if you did give up at 20, you got some time back in your weekend. And once again, I'm calculating the total potential time gained by all those fans that gave up at 20 last weekend. So I'm taking the minutes left in each game after the 20-point margin was reached and then multiplying it by the last confirmed figure I could track down for the number of members in each losing club.
Right, so these are paid up members, so you can, realistically think that there are numbers beyond this.
Oh, yes.
We cannot calculate.
This is paid up members only, but just based on those known paid up members, the total time that could have been gained by giving up at 20 last weekend, more than 7.5 years.
What? You can build a bridge.
Yeah.
So
just for paid up members.
You could build a bridge in a weekend.
You could build a city. I really like that. It's nice to look at the positives, but all we can do at the moment is just look at the misery. 7 years of misery was collectively shared among members.
Exactly. 7.5 years of misery that most fans are choosing to have. But yes, you can opt out Save yourself.
Actually, I'd love to get our listeners to send in photos or any proof that they have of them moving on and doing something a little bit better with their time outside of the game. So, send a photo of you moving on from the misery of almost certain loss.
Anyway, the word is spreading. And yes, please do send in some photos or let us know what you're doing, because I reckon if we can get 5 or 6 fans telling us that, that'll give us motivation to print some Give Up at 20 beanies and bucket hats and get them up on the merch store and to create a merch store. Now, James, last week you asked whether all of that time saved by Giving Up at 20 goes back into Australia's GDP. I didn't have the figures on hand to sort of provide a qualified answer to that, but I do now. Now, obviously, we would never endorse spending your special Give Up at 20 time engaged in labour. Rugby league is supposed to be a leisure activity.
Oh, very good point. Thank you, comrade. Yes.
Yeah. Having said that, Abdo and V'landys are, trying very hard to make it hard work for us to watch. But just as a bit of a thought experiment, let's say that all of those members that gave up at 20 last round put the time towards something economically productive. If we then use the OECD's latest estimate of GDP contribution per hour worked in Australia, those 7.5 years of extra time could be worth nearly $8 million to the Australian economy.
Gosh.
Wow.
So to me, this is saying that giving up at 20 is not just a matter of emotional self-preservation. It's actually a patriotic duty.
Again, what sort of a bridge could you build with that $7 million? I'm curious to find out. A small regional hospital, a preschool, and numerous preschools, depending on how state-of-the-art the playground equipment is. Just spitballing.
Well, this is just from one round as well, across a whole season. I mean,
True.
I only wish I had these figures before Jim Chalmers was delivering his budget the other night, because I feel like this could have, changed the maths a bit.
I would actually build a prison, and the prison would encase Andrew Abdo and Peter V'landys in it. And it would have, what are the things that inhibit technology? What are they called? It's like one of those devices.
Oh, like a Faraday cage, is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh,
anyway,
right.
Then they would basically be trapped inside this thing, and they couldn't do any more damage to the game, and could not have the ability to go on podcasts and gaslight fans into thinking that what they're watching is actually good, when everybody and every forum you can see is bemoaning the fact that nobody wants games with massive blowout scores that are over at 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So we could add that to the list, potentially, of what people could get together and do this round. Magic Round potentially is a good thing. Everyone's going to be in Brisbane watching the game, so more fans would be back at home, and they could locate maybe Rugby League HQ or wherever Abdo and PVL are, and just start boxing them in very early on, and then reinforcing that as we go. And we'll sort of take it from there.
I think that's right, and I think that's the danger for the NRL is at Magic Round is we'll have people giving up at 20, but wanting to stick around for the next game, so they'll have nothing to do except kind of plot the demise of the administration of the game.
It's true. It will act as an echo chamber once they head to the pubs and they're talking about it's been a bit of a...
Dan, you do need to listen to Andrew Abdo, because he has said what we have seen is unbelievable comebacks and unbelievable shifts in momentum.
Yeah.
And I think what we need to do is accept that is true. And then if we accept that is true, then watch whatever game it might be. You might enjoy it a little bit more and not be so cynical.
You're right, actually. Yeah,
Hence why we will be locking him in a Faraday cage with PVL
I'm sort
this
of thinking
weekend.
Something like Magneto, maybe, on a sort of a long bridge in the middle of a void, just to give him no chance of actually sending out some operatives to people. It's very... the way he talks about it is terrifying. It is as though we are not seeing the game that we're seeing.
Anyway, he claims from rounds 10 to 15 we're really going to start seeing things being optimised. So just keep an eye out this weekend and future. These big blowouts are going to stop. Teams will adapt, and we will be in Rugby League Nirvana.
Can't wait.
So what about the champion of Australian, Peter V'landys? He's like President Trump.
Just quickly, guys, you would have seen in the last couple of days, Warriors half Luke Metcalf is now able to negotiate with teams for leaving the Warriors in 2027, which is relatively big news. But I did note the official club statement regarding this from the Warriors was written in a beautiful way, and we're very lucky to have someone of the caliber of Simon who's going to be able to unpack just how far the passive voice goes within the statement. So I'll start off. The One New Zealand Warriors have acceded to a request from Luke Metcalf's management to engage with other NRL clubs regarding his playing future from 2027 and beyond. So is that a triple passive voice, Simon?
Wow. It's not really the passive voice because the Warriors are taking the action of acceding.
Ah, okay.
So it is actually written in active voice, but it's a strange choice of word. Acceded, because I think that sort of implies that they did it under duress. Normally, it wasn't like they agreed to a request.
Well, yeah, they're unhappy about it.
Yeah.
Because if they wanted to write it normally, they would have said the One New Zealand Warriors have allowed Luke Metcalf to engage with other clubs.
Yep.
It would be like a very easy sentence to write.
Yep.
And then they go on to say, we will not make any further comment on this matter until a further update is provided, this is my favourite bit, by Luke and or his management. And or is not with the dash. It's just and slash whatever.
It's missing
it's
the
just
slash.
and or his management. Said One New Zealand's Warriors CEO Cameron George. So it's basically like, listen, you've really annoyed us here, Luke Metcalf and management.
Yeah.
That's the first line. And then the second line is, we're really, really not happy about this. And you need to provide us with the update. So trouble in paradise.
Wow.
Down the Warriors' way.
Yeah, you sort of wonder, I mean, you know, we as media representatives cannot help but wonder what is happening behind closed doors given the recency of Luke Metcalf's contract extension. So it seems quite curious.
So he was signed up until the end of 2028. So that's 2 years off his what he'd signed up for. I do wonder if he's received an unofficial, you know, whispery offer to perhaps sign with one of the new clubs. That's some big money.
If we judge this by the amount of salt in the statement, which is probably at about a 7 or 8 out of 10 saltiness, then you would think that it might be an unhappy, very unhappy parting of the ways. But Luke might be going off to bigger and better things. A long way away from New Zealand.
The catalyst is obviously the Tanner Boyd extension, which is sort of, you know, a long-term option that's being locked in Metcalf's neighbourhood. But he's obviously not happy with the way things have panned out. So, yeah, it is a curious one to watch, but I do love a good club statement.
And I think if only Luke's management would have responded in kind with similar salt, then that would have been even better. But we're only left with this dramatic and or to go on.
Yeah.
It's a nice cliffhanger remark.
It does remind me a little bit of the greatest club statement of all time, which was, of course, when Jack Whiten announced he was leaving the Raiders and Ricky Stewart personally penned a club statement expressing his displeasure, his disgust with the current contracting system where you can sign a year out, begging the fans to accept that he did all he could to keep Jack.
Okay. So he was angry at the gods. It wasn't so much directed at Whiten?
No, he wasn't angry with Jack. It was just a classic Ricky where he was just...
The system's busted.
Choose the opportunity to, raise a few concerns.
Yeah, okay.
But it was written in Ricky Stewart's first person voice.
There's nothing passive about
Nothing passive about, I've got it here, hang on. I know it would have been hard for you, our Raiders fans, because I know what the feeling was like for me to see an image of Jack in a Souths jersey, digitally altered, on the back page of a Sydney paper today.
This was before AI, so,
it probably was, yeah.
It was a harbinger of things to come.
Instead of me tomorrow saying what I think and then getting abused by everybody in regards to my unsportsmanship manner. You write what you think. Okay, well, write it.
So last week we covered the Bulldogs' rather odd airport fiasco, in which 4 players missed their flight to Brisbane because one of them was allegedly suffering from diarrhoea. We had a lot of questions about this affair, and many of them still remain unanswered, Phil Gould and Cameron Ciraldo. But we did get a smoking gun, or should I say a smoking bum, the other day on the Montoyas podcast. Now, for those that are unaware of this adorable couple, the Montoyas, it's a show co-hosted by Bulldogs winger Marcelo Montoya and his wife Taylor, in which, well, they basically passively-aggressively squabble for an hour or so.
Yeah.
With good humour. You guys fans of the Montoyas?
I would say that I think it is a significant net negative in society. But, you know, people find it entertaining, so who am I to say?
And I am a fan.
See, this is good. We canvass all the views.
Anyway, last week's episode came with a stunning revelation about that airport incident that seems to have been largely ignored by the mainstream media. We've got a clip lined up for you. Now, just for background, Marcelo and Taylor have just spent 10 minutes or so talking about how Taylor recently shat herself, then put her undies into a nappy bag and put them into the kitchen bin. And it's fair to say Marcelo is unimpressed with these actions. But just have a listen to what Taylor says next.
Hey, that's disgusting.
Oh, what, you've never shit yourself?
Plenty of times, but I have a different process of how I get rid of the feces.
How would you get rid of undies at an airport, Mars?
At an airport? What do you mean?
I don't know, just pick that out of the environment.
Same thing.
Oh, you put it, what, you carry nappy bags on you when you're not travelling with the girls?
No, it's straight in the bin there. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not a kitchen. That's a kitchen. That's a bathroom.
Before we move on, how good is I've just picked it out of the environment as an expression. Big fan of that. So there are positives to come out of the show.
Yeah.
But first of all, Simon, how many hours did you dredge through of the Montoyas before you found this?
We said last week we would not rest until we got to the bottom of this airport fiasco, and we stand by that on this podcast.
Good for you. Thank you for your service.
But look, that seems fairly damning as to Montoya being the one with the diarrhoea. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Yes. I think it's pretty clear she's sort of seized an opportunity to like needle him a little bit, which is really what the show is about, having a crack at each other. And there's definitely some big story in the wings there.
And hiding the evidence.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that was rather interesting because he also implied that he threw his undies into the bin in the toilet at Sydney Airport, which would then imply that he was freeballing for the entire flight to Brisbane when they did manage to organise a replacement flight.
Simon, question here. I mean, you're prepared to go through hours and hours of the Montoyas. Is that worse than digging now through like tons and tons of airport waste in order to find the shitty undies to crack the case? Or do you? Which would you prefer?
Yeah. Well, I've got my bus ticket booked straight up to the Sydney waste transfer station as soon as we finish recording here.
Oh, please take gloves.
This gets us a little bit closer to the truth. It does imply that somebody did, in fact, shit themselves.
Yes.
Does not say why 3 other players had to be involved in dealing with that situation.
However, if it was Montoya that did the shitting, then you might understand why 3 other players needed to be there. Because he's got a magnetic personality.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't know if they would want to leave him in that state. And he seems to be the sort of guy that would be, Stephen! I don't know who else was there.
Get a bag!
Billy Army.
Billy,
mate, Billy,
yep.
You got to stay. I'm shitting all over myself. Please.
And Crichton, the captain, I might remind you, he's like, oh, look, I'm just going to go tell the plane. I'm just going to go tell the guys, no, get a bag.
You can't tell Serrato. You can't tell Serrato.
Get a bag. No, you can't go. And then whoever the fourth person was there was just probably
petrified. I can't think of another NRL player that would be so suited to be stuck in a toilet with 3 teammates with diarrhoea.
The foul play far outweighs the dickhead.
Now, still on the Dogs airport incident, so those 4 players who missed the flight, Montoya, Kikau, Crichton, and the other one who, as yet, remains unnamed, All four of them have apparently been sanctioned internally for the incident by rolling a die to determine a punishment. Apparently, said punishments included things like dyeing your hair or singing karaoke in front of your teammates. Now, James, you had some very strong words for the Dogs power brokers last week regarding what the airport incident says about their club culture. Do you think this is an appropriate response?
The response to the problem says everything you need to know about the club, and it's continued sinking down into irrelevancy in season 2026. No standards, no process, no consequences, AI-powered rubbish. That's what I think, Simon. Thank you for asking.
It's a reasonable assessment. I think there, the on-field results have been, pretty disappointing to say the least. And even, dear old friend Braith Anasta, despite being, having the best heart on these kinds of things, has weighed in to say that, he's trying his best to just be a fan and a friend, but he just thinks that they've lost their way a little bit. I have a tattoo on my on the back of my thigh that says "Trust Braith," and that reminds me that when everything goes topsy-turvy in the world and this crazy world of league, is just to go back to that touching stone of Braith Anasta. So shout out to you, Braith, for taking the stand despite the slings and arrows that the real league world throw at you, because you're fighting the good fight.
WWBAD. What would Braith Anasta do? That's what you've got to remember, not your prompts, not your gameplay prompts for Claude AI. That's what the Bulldogs need to remember.
And they would say, how do we leverage this situation for the betterment of my 10 to 20% cut as a player manager?
Yeah.
And then they have to go through that process. Whatever that means, whatever that equation is in your mind, that is what you need to do.
Just before we move on from the airport incident, it's worth noting that Marcelo Montoya was dropped after that Brisbane game that they were late for and hasn't played since.
Oh.
So you do have to wonder.
He played on the day?
He played on the day or the next day, whenever it was they finally got there. But he was dropped, hasn't been back in the team since. So you got to wonder, was that actually some real disciplinary action for stuffing around the flight departure, or did he just have such severe chafing from free balling after shitting himself all the way to Brisbane that he was unable to deliver on the field and lost and out of form? More questions than answers.
We should go back and forensically assess his, movement in tackles and that sort of thing to see if he's, writhing in pain.
Well, I've just remembered. We talked about the epidemic of dackings and bare moons last week, but I've just remembered that as far as I'm aware, the only penile exposure on the field that we've seen this season was Marcelo Montoya a few weeks ago. So I'm actually wondering if this is a regular incident and he has to play with no undies on.
Hey, that is interesting. Again. So we can actually go back through the tapes. We could probably work out whether there are underpants present at that time.
Oh, it's going to be a busy week. I'll have to quit my job.
Back to the tape, Simon.
What absolute madness. Well, it might be madness, but I've enjoyed it, and I hope the viewer has as well.
That's because you're mad. What? You're mad.
That's a lovely way to go to a break.
So it's been an interesting week at home. Simon, I've been giving some thought to something you talked about last week, just about being accountable, being honest, being transparent with family members, and probably not tiptoeing around some of the difficult conversations that we have to have with our young people, the people that rely upon us. So I've decided that it was time to have the talk with my daughter, and I recorded it for you. So tell me how you think it went. I was just going to ask you a serious serious question.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you knew that a long time before you were born, the Storm were found out to have committed a long series of salary cap rorts. They effectively cheated the system, which brought in their first era of success. And I was wondering if you knew that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, there's a salary cap in place in the NRL, and they were paying players more money than they should have been. and therefore they had a stronger team, and it meant that we won some couple of premierships during that period that were unfairly won. So we were perceived as cheats, and how does that make you feel as a Storm fan?
I feel like they were good.
Do you still feel like they're good?
I don't know. If they're different people now, so not as different.
So you don't feel bad about it now that, as you say, they're different people?
Not that much.
Yeah. So you think you can move on and still be a happy Storm member?
Yeah.
Well, if it ever comes up in class or, in your life and you feel confused or if you have, complicated emotions, I want you to know that, you can come and talk to me about the Storm salary cap scandal.
I know.
Okay. So you feel like you're okay now?
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to have complicated emotions.
Okay.
I think I'll just be like, what? Oh, of course.
That's good. That's what I wanted to hear. Yeah. So,
wonderful.
Typical Storm member. She just, wants to move on, and I couldn't be prouder of her willingness to just, let the past live in the past. I should point out that my other child was in the bath at the time. That's the strange kind of lapping water sound that you have.
I did find it interesting, Dan, as a media professional, the natural quality of the recording.
Yeah.
But I think probably what you did was you were able to record the subject in her own space so that she could assess things calmly and wasn't put under pressure to reveal that insight.
Yeah, we did. As you could probably pick up, we had to move around a little bit. She was pretty shit scared when I first said to her, I have to have a serious talk with you, and then strangely confused shortly thereafter.
I thought she grasped the concept of the salary cap scandal very well.
Absolutely.
Took it in her stride. Now, just to be very transparent with the listeners, I then made sure that I got the consent of my child to play this on the show. And I sort of thought, when I revealed to her that the phone was there, that I was recording, that she would feel a little, like there was a bit of a trick at play. But as it turns out, she was completely onto it. She had this to say.
Are you going to put that in your podcast?
What's that?
Going to put that in your podcast?
What?
That!
Oh.
Sorry.
So I didn't realize. She knew exactly what I was doing, but the kids know where it's at.
Can't get much past them, can you, these days?
Look, it was a huge weight off my shoulders, and now I just have to sort of probably wait a few years until I break it to number 2. Or, she'll probably, the younger child might hear it from the older child. I might leave some magazines around, that kind of thing, just so they can sort of glean it themselves.
Yeah. Good. Well done. Good on you for manning up and having that chat. I don't have children myself, and the main reason for that is because I could never face having the 2019 Grand Final 6 again talk with them. So I admire you, Dan.
It's oh yes! Xavier Savage! Christian Nate starts with an X, and this bloke has more X factor than anyone in the game. What a try! What a 4-pointer! What feet this kid has!
Now, we've received an email this week from a listener named Adam. G'day, Adam. And the subject line for this email is Adelaide expansion, which has already got my mouth watering. Adam writes, bring back the Adelaide Rams and have the Newtown Jets as the feeder club, making them the new Adelaide Ramjets. Terrific team name.
That's great.
He goes on to say that the mascot could be named Roger, as in Roger Ramjet, and then says lawsuit pending. Now, based on this, I think it's pretty safe to say that Adam probably falls into the 40 to 59-year-old age bracket.
Adam, you are demographically correct for the show.
We've got a match.
But for the 2 or 3 of our listeners who fall into a younger demographic...
Those listeners, you won't know why this hits different. Over to you, Simon.
Roger Ramjet was a 1960s cartoon that for some reason was shown on ABC TV, I think probably into the 90s.
I was just assuming that it's been on ever since. Don't the kids know where Roger and his friends get all the crooks thereafter?
Yeah, it was about an all-American superhero with an absolutely enormous jaw. Now that I think about it, looks an awful lot like Mick Ennis. It's like with red hair.
Now I'm interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In every episode, Roger Ramjet would take some performance-enhancing drugs called proton pills and then use his enhanced strength to beat up the bad guys. So actually a pretty good rugby league attitude.
Really is.
What do you guys think? Does Adam's expansion proposal for the Adelaide Ramjets, New Adelaide Ramjets, have legs?
I do. I especially like the name, the New Adelaide. It sort of is like
it's almost cyberpunk, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's putting Adelaide up there with your New Yorks, New Delhis. It's going to be a real
global city. Yeah.
Of course, there's also the opportunity there because it will be fed by the Newtown Jets. Which is a very exciting part of Sydney. We could also create New Adelaide as a separate cosmopolitan hub. I think geographically would be maybe around Wagga or Albury, Wodonga, right. And we create a new city populated by hipsters who want to, define a new paradigm of hip rugby league with the Ramjets. And live the New Adelaide way, of course, drawing some of the oldie world city vibe of Adelaide with the hip culture of Newtown. So
I love it, and the relatively affordable real estate of the Riverina region.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, far less crowded than Newtown. Very difficult to get around, but still very vibrant.
Did I hear somebody just say Fringe Festival?
Now that's a real fringe festival on the fringe of the Murray.
It's certainly a concept with legs, and it's one that this show will continue to advocate for going forward. Potentially, once Abdo is locked in the mirrorless prison
in the chamber,
we can slip him some paper and he can work out how to do it.
It is good that Adam mentions the potential legal ramifications around using the name Roger Ramjet. Copyright in a character expires 70 years after the death of the creator, and I've just checked, and unfortunately for the New Adelaide joint venture, Fred Crippen, who created Roger Ramjet, only died in 2018, so we'll have to wait until at least the year 2088 to see the New Adelaide Ramjets legally take the field. Okay. When I expect we will see them beaten 532-6 by Penrith, while the brain of Peter V'landers watches on from a vat in the corporate box.
Start the countdown.
Indeed. Thank you for the email, Adam. It's a very enticing suggestion.
And just on matters legal, we did also get an email from our friend Brian this week, who mentioned a few weeks ago we tested out ChatGPT again to determine that it is still terrible at rugby league humour, and we also asked it to provide us with a picture of the person who would be saying said humour, quote unquote humour, that it gave to us, and it came up with a youngster with a moustache and a hoodie and a bit of a smug grin, I think we noted. And Brian mentioned that he looked quite a little bit like Timmy No Breaks, who is a character of a comedian, and that comedian and character is quite often on the popular show Kill Tony. And then Brian noted that he hopes our copyright skills are up to date. And that was good advice.
Good people are really concerned with IP infringement in our listenership. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Anyway,
often overlooked part of law.
I then went back very quickly to the application ChatGPT to say, listen, this does look a bit too much like Timmy No Breaks for my liking. And it noted he absolutely has that vibe, the slightly smug expression, messy hair, moustache, and I've got cooked opinion and I'm committing to it energy. And then I stopped reading because it went on after that and it made me upset. But I think we're okay. I think we're covered off that we won't be sued. However, it is good to know that the reach of rugby league is moving into the Kill Tony sphere. And hopefully one of us three gets to go on Kill Tony one day and do a very brief set about rugby league.
Kill Tony is a bit of a right wing comedian, isn't he?
I think he's post politics.
Post politics,
certainly.
Yeah, sure.
Why he might be post politics, but the people who like him are not.
Gotcha.
And here's this bloke who wants to have a crack at the media. That's what we do. We critique and we scrutinise. We critique and we scrutinise. We critique.
Point his finger at me indirectly, I thought was weak as piss, just like his press conference was.
Well, that's another fan mailbag segment. If you have got an unhinged rugby league proposal you'd like us to consider, please send it to us at hellmates@nrlhellmouth.com. That's hellmates, all one word, at nrlhellmouth.com.
All right. Do you guys like Magic Round in general? It is Magic Round this weekend.
I love Magic in general.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you like
the
it?
real magic of Magic Round is that somehow the Broncos and Dolphins have got a away game this weekend.
Oh my gosh!
Despite playing at Suncorp
I didn't realise that.
That's the magic of this special time of year.
Seems a little bit.
Does a bit, doesn't
anyway,
it?
hey, that's
So Magic Round obviously is all games of NRL played at Suncorp Stadium on the weekend. So there's the magic that the Broncos always get an away game when they play at home. It's magic, and there's a wonderful video about it you can track down and watch about how they keep the Suncorp Stadium playing surface so good over the 3 games and all the matches, and noting as well that the NRLW State of Origin is being played tonight as well, also at Suncorp Stadium. So it is getting a real workout, and it is probably magic, the feeling that the fans get when they watch this wonderful experience, which is conceptual magic. But what I was actually interested in is the magic that happens in front of us and the magic of magicians. And I've been putting together a starting 13 of magicians that I think would do very well
fantastic.
if they went out on the field this weekend. Now, I'll just go through my list, and I'm wondering afterwards if you two have got any others that you'd like to put in, then we can have a little discussion about that.
Sure.
But I actually really quite like what I've come up with, so let's give it a go. So fullback, we have Chris Angel Mind Freak. And don't you think that Chris Angel Mind Freak has got the most sort of modern fullback energy of all magicians that have been?
Absolutely.
He's got that Reece Walsh, Suafa'alongo kind of edgy pizzazz. So that was just beautifully slotted in there. Then for the centre and wing pairings, I'm pretty happy with this. On the left side pairing, we've got Penn and Teller. Penn, who's the short one? Penn, right?
I think Penn is the short one.
Yeah. So Penn would be the winger, kind of in the Brian To'o style, just getting in there, driving through, impossible to put down. And then Teller, another large guy, he'd be a booming centre in the Mal Meninga style.
Yeah.
Boof, right?
Yeah.
So that's quite cool. Now, on the right-hand side, we'll have Siegfried and Roy. A little bit lighter, but extravagant, can leap high.
Very agile.
Agile, right. And would be able to take the high balls through. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Absolutely.
Right. Stunning.
Okay, now let's get back to the spine. So number 7, halfback, I've got Harry Houdini. The OG.
Absolutely. The veteran. Yeah.
The veteran has done it all, has invented everything, will always find his way out of a tricky spot. And then in the 5/8 position, I do have David Copperfield, the somewhat flashy, unpopular American magician who made the Statue of Liberty disappear and something like that.
Problematic, James. I think he's got a long off-field incident record. I believe there's been multiple accusations over the years, and he might be subject to the no-fault stand-down rather than taking the fifth.
Okay. That either works very well for rugby league or not, depending on the area that we're in. So I think maybe Copperfield we're going to move off the list based on our own morals and values.
David's been making those allegations disappear for decades now, so I think we can probably, if there's ever a place he can hide them, it's the National Rugby League.
In the number 9, the hooker is Darren Brown, the English mentalist who you might recall from many TV shows and can manipulate the minds of viewers. And I see that him doing very well in the hooker position. For the props, I've got another wonderful pairing, James Randi and Uri Geller, who will be known primarily to our Australian listeners who are in tension with each other for much time. Uri Geller, of course, a wonderful scam man who bends spoons and probably mines, and James Randi, who is a skeptic magician. So I think they do very well up front.
I'd love to see Uri Geller as the goal kicker as well, because I think if it was heading a bit to the side, he could just actually bend the post so that it went
Great
through.
thinking, Simon, yes.
Good, noted. Second row, Amazing Jonathan and David Blaine. Sort of running out of time here and interest in the concept by the time I got down to these two. I just remembered their names when I saw a list of comedians. Amazing Jonathan's quite cool. He's a funny guy. He's big. And then David Blaine is a very effective magician, so I assume he'd be fine in the second row running the edge. And then the lock, who I did think about, is Constantino, who is a Chris Angel type figure, but he is probably the best known Australian illusionist, so it's good for him to get in the team there. Yeah. So as far as a team of magicians go who could play rugby league, and we're going to switch out David Copperfield for Dynamo, the English street magician, I think this is a very solid side, and I think it could probably take on and beat many of the teams out there at Magic Round this weekend.
Absolutely. I mean, it's got a real dysfunctional Harlem Globetrotters kind of vibe. You think about the whole match or the whole side kind of taking to the field. I think some of them sort of dabble in the tech illusions, so they may have their way with the bunker reviews as well. But then we see sort of, Ashley Klein sending Chris Angel for 10 minutes in the bin, maybe for professional foul, I don't know, like holding down with ropes or something like that. And as they sort of send Chris Angel down the race, that sort of famous shot as he's leaving, he sort of spins around and it's actually Ashley Klein with the uniform. The camera spins around to see that it's now Chris Angel who is refereeing the game in the ultimate illusion of all time, probably since the bubbler, that is. But
they would be a wonderful team, and you can imagine a range of tomfoolery and illusions that could take place where there's misdirection. People think they're tackling a player with the ball, and then all of a sudden at the complete other end of the field, someone is smugly leaning against the goalpost, ball in hand, and simply places it down for a try.
I do fear for the ball. I just feel like there's a lot of times where the ball will either be turned into a fireball instantly. It'll be hidden in someone's ear for a while. They'll probably be going through hundreds of them in a night. There's just too many options.
Listen, the idea's out there. Abdo, PVL. Next year, you've got time to do it. You've got, according to yourselves, you've got a lot of money in the bank that can be used for such things as this. So all you need to do is get each 13 of those magicians on board for Magic Round and get them to put on a show. It's called This Week in Hell. It's called This Week in Hell. It's called This Week in Hell. Well, thanks again, Dan, for that great introduction. Good to see it hasn't changed again for another week, even though this segment has now been going for more than a month. Woo!
It's our most regular segment. With the worst intro.
Well, welcome to This Week in Magic Round Hell. We're going to start off by talking about something that is a little bit more saintly than that, and that is State of Origin 2, Women's, which is on tonight when you're listening to this, Thursday in beautiful Brisbane before Magic Round proper starts. New South Wales won the last game. It was a very exciting game last time. I loved it.
It was.
A couple of great prop tries, my favourite. So the onus is really now on Queensland to come back and win in order to keep Game 3 alive, which is being played in Gold Coast in a couple of weeks' time.
So 2 Queensland games for the rest of the series.
Although this one at Suncorp is probably not a home game, technically.
Yes, it's probably a blue side.
So
it's at a neutral venue. Good to see Destiny Brill move up from the reserves to the full interchange bench, so to be number 14, utility role in for Queensland. And I just hope, compared to the last game, similar score, tick, potentially a bit more time on the field, because obviously this is effectively pre-season for the women, a reduction in handling errors. and an uptick, I guess, in ball in play would be good. But apart from that, if we just did game one again, I would be a very, very happy rugby league fan.
But I would say the big thing that I'd be looking out for is just less injuries at this time of the year. A lot of these players are coming in and performing this series as the first big test of the year, and it's a lot to put their bodies through, and it is heartbreaking to see some of the players get season-ending injuries before the season even kicks off. So just fingers crossed that everyone stays healthy and that we get a good spectacle.
Absolutely. And then when it comes to spectacle, oh boy, if you're in Brisbane this weekend, you are in for a treat. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. All of them potentially could be effectively over and before the half is up. And any time longer than that is a bonus for you as a fan as you sit there watching the games.
At least Eels Storm are, two teams in a similar position on the ladder.
Yeah.
Perhaps Suncorp Stadium needs to add like a give up at 20 entertainment zone for those fans who give up in a particular game but want to stick around for the rest of the day with, pool tables, perhaps a couple of Daytona rally machines. Maybe even legalise 2 up for the weekend like they do on Anzac Day, just to give the punters something to kill time.
Oh, but there's some matchups in there. Come on, James.
No, there's some good stuff happening. Thank you, Dan. West versus Sea Eagles, 6th versus 5th, Saturday at 3 p.m. That will be a good match to watch. You got the West Tigers. I think they've come off 2 losses. Foreign Sea Eagles still looking pretty good. Well, still looking very good, actually. Then also on Saturday, Roosters versus Cowboys. A couple of teams in the 8. You've got the Queensland State Cowboys. So they'll have quite a lot of fans in the stadium versus the Roosters. That will be a good match. We've covered off Eels versus Storm, which is really of no interest to anyone apart from the people in those 2 teams because they're both 14th and 15th. And then coming to Sunday, there are 3 games. The last one, which is at 6:25, Panthers versus Dragons. And that one, boy. Let me tell you, if that's like 80-0, then I might watch the whole thing because that will be interesting to see. And I'm not sure if our friends, the Dragons ranters, would even bother getting angry when the Panthers beat them.
So, fun fact is that the Dragons actually hold the record for the most points ever scored in a single game of rugby league. They beat Canterbury 91-6 on the 11th of May, 1935. Do you think we might see the Panthers challenging that record on Sunday? Maybe even cracking the century?
I think they'll challenge it. Yeah.
Hey, if this season's taught us anything, it's to expect the unexpected. So,
and if Andrew Abdo's taught us anything, it's that teams are constantly making comebacks.
Yeah,
that's right. Despite there being statistical proof that they're not.
Well, all going well, Abdo will be very much inside the tomb by Sunday at 6 o'clock, so he might not be able to watch it.
We're not going to put a screen in for him.
He will get information as determined by the fans.
Yeah, that's right. Rabbitohs Dolphins, Dolphins have sort of been back on the winners list the last couple of weeks, so, they have the opportunity to continue building momentum as the Rabbitohs are, so there are some storylines.
Yeah, and I think probably the last one to watch out for, Warriors second still on the table. This is Sunday, 4:05.
Hosting the Broncos.
Hosting the plucky away team, the Brisbane Broncos. Hopefully the Broncos got a few fans there at the stadium that have travelled to that match to watch it. We'll see how we go. Apart from that, to look forward to this week, we might have the discourse around the news that Ivan Cleary is set to leave the Panthers at the end of 2027. That will obviously potentially embolden them for this year, destabilise them from next year onwards, and also potentially have players second-guessing where they might be in the future when they sign contracts. So if Ivan does end up leaving, he will leave a big hole in Penrith. And I have to say, I'm going to vomit when I say this, but quite a legacy with the 4 premierships.
Absolutely.
And in many ways, sorry, I just have to vomit it. redefining excellence within rugby league as well. I'm sorry. All those statements are true, but it's very hard to say.
Very courageous. He's still a young man. What do you think? Is he actually just, focusing on life, or are we looking to a big coaching contract, maybe
it's a great question.
North of the Australian mainland?
Ooh. Yeah, it's a great question. He is a young man, and he's got nothing left to prove, right? He's already shown himself as an excellent coach.
Yeah.
The only thing I could see him maybe doing is wanting to build a club from scratch to success.
Yeah, but you could see him for the Adelaide Ramjets.
You could see him for the Adelaide Ramjets, that's true.
New Adelaide.
New Adelaide, because then you're really creating a legacy from scratch.
Interesting.
I do like it as a concept. Look, it's going to set many hearts and lips aflutter within the league community.
Cause an increase in the buzz around what will Nathan do, because I think his contract's up at the end of 27 as well. So without his old man there, I think we've got 18 months of speculation to look forward to.
Which is
about what he might do next. Yeah,
great for the mill of rugby league content. Do they like the arts? Are they sort of arts adjacent people? The Clearys?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just thinking what we could do to get them down into the Ramjets and into the scene and the buzz of the club that we'll be creating over the next 6 months or so.
The city we're creating.
New
Adelaide.
Well, every rugby league player has a stand-up comedy set in them somewhere, so I think definitely we could get Nathan a set at the Fringe Festival. It would be terrific. Got to be chin it to win it.
Very good, Simon. So apart from that, and Magic Round as a concept, I think the only other thing going on worth noting is that State of Origin men's teams will be announced shortly, and just seeing how that all plays out is one to watch for us. And if you're interested in that, then our show is probably not the best source of information for it, to be frank. If Cameron Munster gets dumped, which he probably won't, we'll talk about that. If there's a bolter in either side, we'll talk about that. But apart from that, there are many other better options.
We will critique the way that Michael Ennis and Braithen Astor announce the announcements and respond.
Yes, very true.
So we'll react to the reactions, and you
can count on us for an Astor watch. And if I do come up with that concept, then please know, even if it is done multiple weeks, it will not have a good introduction. Thank you.
Yep.
In the air! In the air! In the air! Goal!
All righty, it's time to close up the Hellmouth for another week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for understanding. Enjoy the Festival of Rugby League this weekend, and we'll see you again next week. Until then, it's time for James's final thought.
Abracadabra, alakazam. Run out of the toilet. The New Adelaide Rams are playing. Ave Abdo. We're gonna trap him soon, guys. Don't worry. We're gonna trap him soon.
Just a bait.
Ave Mind Freaks. Have a good weekend. Just so you guys know, I think at 4:00 today, Ivan Cleary's going to announce that he will retire from the Panthers next year.
Wow.
Really?
What makes you say that?
I just saw it on Fox Sports when I was looking for something else.
Oh, let's break that.